Hello and welcome to the Unicel eDebate Youth Cup 2021. Thank you to all the lecturers, students, and supporters for being here today. My name is Nur Hamiza binti Taqiyuddin and I will be your chairperson and timekeeper for this session. Today's session will be adjudicated by Shaki, Iti Fashuddin, and also Anis. We are going to start with the first round of preliminary rounds by reading the motion. The motion for this debate is this House believes that developing nations should heavily incentivize its students to pursue STEM subjects such as the engineering, computer engineering, and tertiary education, even at the expense of a decline in humanities courses such as literature, arts, and also philosophy. The members of the government side representing Unique mindset are Aruna as the Prime Minister, Nurin as the Deputy Prime Minister, Kristika as the government whip, and the reply speech from the government side will be given by Nurin. The members of the opposition side representing Unique BMI are Mardiah as the leader of opposition, Alia as the deputy leader of opposition, Imran as the opposition whip, and the reply speech from the opposition side will be given by Imran. Before we begin, I will briefly explain the rules. Each of the main speeches is 7 minutes long. The first and last minutes of each of these speeches is known as protected time, which means that no points of information or known as POI may be asked by the opposing bench. As the timekeeper, I will mark the opening and closing of protected time with a single blank, once at one time and a second time at 6 minutes. I will also indicate that a speaker's time is up with a double clap. If a speaker continues for a further 15 seconds, the indicator will start with a triple clap, and thereafter continuously until the speaker stops. The speaker's speeches are 4 minutes long and entirely protected from POIs. The indicator for the reply speech will start as single blank at 3rd minute, double blank at 4th minute. If the speaker continues for a further 15 seconds, the indicator will start with a triple blank and thereafter continuously until the speaker stops. Could I politely ask the phones to be switched off for the duration of each debate? If you wish to use your phone, please mute your mic and switch off your video to respect the ongoing session. Participants, you will have 10-minute grace period. If you are disconnected, please continue your speech during that period. We would move on to the next speaker if you fail to reconnect to the grace period. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming the first speaker of the debate, the Prime Minister, to the floor to open the debate.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you clearly.
A very good evening, I bid to the adjudicators, my fellow opponents, and the chairperson, and also the viewers of the live stream. I am the Prime Minister today, alongside my team consisting of Deputy Prime Minister and also the government whip will be presenting on why this House believes that developing nation students should heavily uh, should take up science, STEM subjects instead of humanitarian subjects. First of all, I would like to give a definition on what is actually STEM. So, as we all know, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. But what exactly does it mean? So, science is a subject that helps students to have an in-depth understanding of what is the things that is going around them. And while the T stands for technology, which is obviously in the era of globalization, technology is really important for the growth of a nation. And then we have engineering and maths, which is where help students to strengthen their uh, analytical thinking and also uh, problem solving skills. We believe that STEM is the fundamental to development. This is because in uh, in science you don't only learn in STEM you don't only learn one subject. You have four subjects and four, which is like four main subjects that we are focusing on, and then we also have other subjects that come along with the four main groups of subjects. So in science, when a student studies science, they will have an in-depth understanding of a problem because when learning science, you don't only learn the top part of the subject, you go in deep into it for you to be able to understand every theory that is being presented in the subject. And then for technology, this is the 21st century, and we as a government believe that for a developing nation to be successful, we need to have technology in our life because in the 21st century, everything is uh, done by technology. Technology is so important to our daily life, and this technology is what is going to help us to um, grow further. And engineering is a subject that is very important because in building anything, for most of the time, you need engineering knowledge like physics and there's so many types of engineering, so engineering is very important. And then we have maths where we by doing solving math questions we develop analytical thinking where we can analyze and have a problem solving skills. And so this is why we as a government believe that STEM is the fundamental to development. And that will bring me to my main point, which is the current labor demand. So we were in the motion we are proposing that we might even decline the humanitarian courses and subjects. This is because in the 21st century, the current labor demand is mostly focused on STEM. And uh, when we talk about it, humanitarian subjects like literature, arts, and philosophy, during the 18th and 19th century, it was booming. It was very important during that time for us to have art knowledge, philosophy, and also literature. But now, when where the world is going rapidly growing and is going on very fast, I believe that we as a government believe that STEM is the way to go because when we look at development of other countries, such as America and Russia and also Germany, these countries are very developed. Even Japan, where they have like bullet trains and all these things. All these things don't mostly come from humanitarian subjects. This is all from science because when you want to build something, you need to know. For example, for the bullet train, you need to know how uh, do you structure the train and how fast it can go and how much the speed should be, like what is the maximum to it. All of this is included in STEM, like the science, technology, engineering, and maths. All of this is in that. So if you want to be a very developed nation, especially for a nation that is just developing, we need this knowledge. And for the current labor demand, this is what we need. Which is why the government is implementing that students should really uh, take up STEM subjects in their tertiary education because if these STEM subjects is what prepares the students to get into the world where it's full of technology. So if they don't have even the basic knowledge of STEM subjects, definitely they could not take up uh, the challenges that they are faced with. So hereby, I would like to conclude that for in the 21st century and alongside the current labor demand, students should really take STEM subjects as their tertiary education because it will give them a bright future, and this will also uh, make their nation become a very developed country, because a country with people who have so many science knowledge is a country where they can develop so many new things and so many influential and useful things. This is why we as a government believe that students should take up STEM subjects in their tertiary education. That is all from me. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. Now, please welcome the first speaker of the opposition, the leader of opposition, to open the case for their side. Is it going to be our Maria? Hello, test 1, 2, 3. You can hear me?
Yes, but I
All right.
cannot hear the opposition leader.
Opposition leader is Maria, is it?
Yes. Maybe he has trouble with the connection. We will wait for her.
Are you okay now? I might start with the grace period for 10 minutes. If she can't attend within that time, then I'll pass to the next. Maria here. You might off your video if you want to make sure your connection is better. Currently, we can't hear you, but your mic is open.
Hello?
Mardia, are you okay?
Hello, can
Yes, we can hear you.
ah,
1, 2, 3.
all right. I'm sorry about
All
that.
right. All right.
Yes, I'm ready to
We shall continue.
talk.
All right. Have a moment.
All right.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. I will take off my cam because it's gonna disrupt my connection, so I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are from the Ladies and gentlemen, we are from the opposition team are disagree 100% with this motion. First thing first, let me introduce my team split. I'm Mardia Tool as the first speaker of the opposing team will give a point about people have different qualities, and my second speaker will talk about humanities in STEAM world. And last but not least, my third speaker will do the rebuttals. Before I go straight to my point, allow me to rebut the Prime Minister's speech. The Prime Minister stated that nowadays STEM is more important than the humanities subjects. As you can see, humanities is still important. Why? The humanities help us to understand others through their languages, histories, and cultures. Because we are living in this modernization world, so knowledge is a gold. So we learn from each other even though we are from a different country. So if you are talking about humanities is not important and STEM is the most important thing, how can you learn other people's languages so that you guys can easily communicate? And also, they foster social justice and equality. Other than that, they reveal how people have tried to make moral, spiritual, and intellectual sense of the world. They teach us to deal critically and logically with subjective, complex, and imperfect information, which we won't learn and found it in a STEM subject. Now, I will begin with my speech with my point, which is people have different qualities. In the past decade, governments and private foundations have been investing substantial resources in efforts to attract more students to the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics disciplines, and consequently, STEM careers. They have provided numerous scholarships for students and generous funding to explore interventions to help encourage students to take the STEM path. Meanwhile, the number of students in the liberal arts has been declining sharply, a drop that has stimulated a reduction in the number of faculty lines and other resources. Humanities programs are closing every year, especially in university and bachelor program. And if that trend continues, the liberal art disciplines might even cease to exist as mainstream academic programs. As you can see, not all people can do STEM subjects as their tertiary education because some people are good at humanities subjects such as arts, liberal arts, history, and economics, and so on. Even if you incentivize um, sorry, even if you incentivize heavily, you cannot force someone to forsake their passion nor to love something they cannot put their heart into. Because if you force someone to love STEM subjects, which they cannot do at all for their life career, it cannot do any good because passion is important. Humanities subjects is important. We still need to have historians to keep track on the world history. We still need an artist to keep our lives cheerful. We still need an economist to lead our economy. We still need an accountant to count our money, which I believe engineers cannot do that. Engineers cannot be accountant. Engineers cannot be economists. Engineers cannot do all those humanities stuff just because they want to keep STEM stand out over the top. So that's all for me. Thank you.
I would like to thank the speaker for the speech and welcome to the second speaker of the government, the Deputy Prime Minister, to continue the case for their side.
Am I audible?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, ladies and gentlemen. the floor, our chairperson, my opponents, and the team, and our team. So, as the Deputy Prime Minister on the government side, we believe that developing nations should heavily incentivize engineering STEM subjects in tertiary education, compared even at the expense of a decline in the humanities courses. Okay. To begin, I would like to rebut whatever the um, leader of opposition has said. Um, as in, you were saying that humanitarian subjects are to foster social justice and ability. Um, if these subjects, like as in, we learn civic in our in primary, and social justice and ability, I believe, are subjects that have been implemented in our in our education system since students have been in primary and in secondary school. So I do not, with that, we do not believe that it needs to be the main focus for a developing nation in um, the in a in a developing nation. So, and we propose if um, that in STEM students, instead of abandoning humanitarian subjects, they could have like these subjects should be the on the these subjects should be as a additional subject to supplement the courses, meaning that we don't abandon the humanitarian aspect completely. Rather, we just make it as a minor. We just make its importance minute. So I will go on with my first argument. When we create more STEM, when we heavily incentivize these STEM subjects, we are able to bridge the gender gap between that is oftentimes found in math and science fields. So with more women in STEM, young girls and the younger generation, especially young girls, can look up to that. They can also be inspired to pursue those same careers. This in turn will create more opportunities for their rights to be looked into in their respective fields. Since women's rights aren't really very prioritized in the workplace, as often argued, there are not many like breastfeeding areas. There are no pads and tampons in women's restrooms, and there are no off days for those who cannot bear period pain. Instead, they have to apply for MC. So, when women in STEM, they can these initiatives can be established to increase the roles of women and minorities in women in STEM-related fields. When we are able to create that sort of environment, they are able to deliver um, the utmost workplace performance and contribute more to the company. The company itself is able to reach their full potential and flourish in their respective STEM field to become a successful company. The company will be able to create more job opportunities, thus the rate of unemployed people will decrease greatly. When there are less people unemployed, subsequently the crime rates will decrease, thus creating a safer nation, which is very important in a developing nation. Um, in an ever-changing and increasingly complex world, it is more important than ever that our nation's youth are prepared to bring the knowledge and the skills to solve problems, make sense of information, and know how to gather and evaluate evidence to make decisions. All these are taught in STEM subjects. These are the kind of skills that students will develop, especially in where, and if we want a nation where our future leaders, neighbors, workers, and can understand the complex challenges of today and tomorrow, and to meet the demand of the dynamic and evolving workforce, the STEM field is essential. And the STEM field is very, very essential, and that's why we believe as the government that we should heavily incentivize STEM subjects, even at the expense of a decline in humanities courses. With that, the motion stands. Thank you.
I would like to turn the speaker for the remarks and welcome to the second speaker of the opposition, the Deputy Leader of Opposition, to continue the debate for their side.
Okay, first of all, I would like to say sorry, very sorry, because I can open my camera because of line interruptions.
It's fine. It's okay.
Okay, I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Thank you for the government speech, and good morning and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a second speaker for oppositions, and this evening I'm going to present about our next point, which is why we still need to study the humanities courses in a STEM world. In the age of disruption, the humanities has never been more essential to mankind than ever before. This may not sound like it's true, not when governments from China to Great Britain and Malaysia are pouring trillions of dollars into the sciences of, or when public discourse tends to point the humanities as less relevant and useful than science, technology, engineering, and math, as we call it, STEM. But far from receding in importance, and education in the humanities has become extremely crucial. A field that teaches communication, observation, empathy, and logical thinking, they strengthen the very foundation that makes us what we
Hi.
are, human. Yes?
Just now, the government has said that even STEM subject implements analytical thinking skills and communication skills and all those things. So what makes humanitarian subjects stand up even more than STEM subject? Because I feel like STEM subjects has more critical thinking skills compared to humanitarian subject. Could you elaborate more on that?
Okay. Based on our opinions about the crucial subjects, maybe in humanities, we are more to about the teaches about the communication and observation, logical thinking, and we are not really um, we are not really learning in STEM subjects, because in STEM subjects we always have to think very critical thinking about something that complex. But for humanities, we are more to about the communication, observation, logical thinking, and to strengthen uh, their skills that to to be good leaders in the future. Um, is it okay or not?
I feel like you kind of failed to answer my question because even in subjects like engineering and maths and science, we still have we observe and also logical thinking. What makes you think humanitarian subject is the only subject that has logical thinking? But it's okay. You can go on with your speech.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, and sorry about not really fulfill your questions. And so I'm going to proceed. Um, as we know that humanities is more to teachers communications, observation, empathy, and logical thinking. Yes, in the STEM also they are going to be a logical thinking, observation, because they are more to critical thinking about something complex, and we knowledge it. But in humanities we learn about more to be like humankind, to be know about the communications, more to more deep in the communication skill, and work productively with others, skill that employers today are looking for the most in their new recruits. Without this undervalue humanities traits, we reduce our chances of succeeding or becoming good leaders. I don't say that the STEM will not do good leaders, but without humanities, we can we can fulfill the weakness that uh, that to be a good leaders. And the one who were exposed to the humanities had higher levels of positive personal qualities such as empathy, tolerance for ambiguity, wisdom, emotional intelligence, self-efficacy, and visual spatial skills. So it is worthwhile to take a step back and ask what is the true purpose of a university education for you. It is enough to just study the STEM course and decline the university.
Hello, Alia. You there?
People will learn balancing about critical matters like STEM and be intelligent and good leaders in the future that have a wisdom and teaching communication that not every people in STEM subject, STEM course have the skills. Um, I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Now, let us welcome the government whip to summarize the debate for the government side.
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So, today, as the government whip, I'm going to first rebuttal the speech of the leader of the opposition and the deputy leader of opposition. So, first of all, the leader of the opposition has stated that how are we going to communicate with the other countries, like when we don't have the humanities subjects involved, like we have to have literature to know their languages better. First of all, um, like first of all, we do have other alternatives as like now we can find apps to learn these subjects like Duolingo. There's like app Duolingo, and we can even learn it on YouTube. And we can actually like realize that technology is like more important because like through technology we can learn literature. Like everything involves technology. Like in the era of globalization, everything involves technology. Like we can learn literature through um STEM, like through technology. But then, can we learn STEM through literature? Like it doesn't make sense. And then, for the communication, we have English as the international language, and all this time the countries like when they do diplomatic meetings, they have been communicating with English, and still we can develop the nations, right? So I feel like there won't be any problem to us, like learning their languages first to communicate with, and then um, uh, I'm so sorry. My mom just called me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Uh, okay, set. But that's stop. So for the and then she said we need literature to have cheerful life. Like we doesn't have to just pursue our studies in literature just to have cheerful life. Like we have hobbies. Like we can still pursue our education in STEM while having hobbies like singing and writing poems, like things that involves literatures, humanities courses. Okay, so we can have hobbies. Like you don't have to like really pursue in those subjects to have cheerful lives. Like there are like we can cope in many ways. Like we can have hobbies. So I feel like she can elaborate more with that, and I find it ridiculous. And for the second speaker, the deputy of the opposition, honestly she was repeating the same thing over and over again. At first she was like, oh, okay, I understand like the STEM, it involves logical thinking, critical thinking, but then communication, like from the leader of the opposition until the deputy leader of the opposition, they keep repeating the same point, which is communication. And I already stated, for the communication we can learn through so many alternatives. You don't really have to pursue through literature to learn those subjects, like to learn those languages. Like I have a friend of mine like knows so many languages, but still she still pursue in STEM. So I don't think it will be like it's set when you take STEM, it set boundaries to you not learn literature, humanities. It's just like we are incentivizing like the students to pursue in STEM so we can develop the nations with giving out so many ideas. Like as we know, like now, like the country is like growing and technology is very important. Like for example, we can see Japan, like how the technology makes them become like one of the best like successful country. So the as the motion, like the motion is like the house believes that developing nations should heavily incentivize its students to pursue STEM subjects. So now we are talking about developing the countries, but I feel like the opposition, they actually failed to give the reason like why like it's very important to learn other subjects except STEMs to develop the nation. And also for it's like for my point, like okay, so we are in the country, like technology is developing and we have to have knowledge in those. Like we can simply learn STEM subjects through YouTube, through other alternatives. Like it's really hard to actually understand because it involves like critical thinking and every other steps. Like even we have to do physicals like labs, like science. Like in STEM we learn so many things. Like for science we learn about the things around us, technology. Like through technology we can actually like gain knowledge. Like everything is in technology now, and we have to have knowledge in technologies to develop in order to develop the country. Also, so and also the studies in the US shows that STEM fields are projected to drive the US country like to become like a to um, be more successful. And also a studies also has shown like the top 10 best jobs, like 8 over 10 subjects are actually from STEM subjects. So in order to develop the country, like to order to make the people in our country to have like a very good stable life, they have to have a very good jobs so they can even help our countries to make our economy become better. In order to achieve all this, we have to prioritize science subjects, as like there are so many reasons why we have to prioritize STEM subjects more than um, humanity subjects. So and so for the I think that's all from the government whip, and I still stand strong with the motion, which is this house believes that developing nations should heavily incentivize its students to pursue STEM subjects. Thank you.
Thank you, Government Whip. Please welcome the Opposition Whip to sum up for the opposition team.
All right. Thank you and good evening, everyone. Hopefully, everyone is still fresh. Right. So my last I will talk about is this is a research on an impact of the humanity. There's an evidence to also I want to add about. Uh, for today, I will talk about the impact from learning the humanity courses. So number one is humanity has helped us to understand throughout their language, history, and culture. That being said, our leader opposition have stated that we can learn the culture and history through the humanity courses. Number two, they foster social justice and equality. So number three, and they reveal how people and try to make moral, spiritual, and intellectual sense of the world. Furthermore, I want to add the humanity teaches empathy. So in the modern era, empathy is the most important thing that everyone must have, right? So and they teach humanity courses also teach us to weigh the evidence skeptically and consider side more than one side of every question, meaning that we must take a different approach or different perspective to gain new knowledge. Just because we have one method doesn't mean just because we have one method only have produced and one result. uh, by meaning that another method maybe can produce the same result as the method number one just stated before, right? So the next is I want to talk about the humanity encourage us to think creatively, right? So they teach us the reason of being about being human and ask question about our world. So not gonna lie that the STEM subject also creates the platform for learning new things such as the planetarium or the galaxies, some sort of like that. But from the mm, what we call that humanity courses also teaches us for being more creative than ever before lah. So they teach us the humanity develop okay the humanity develops informed and critical citizen. Without the humanity, democracy could not flourish. I believe this claim, and I would no, they based on the solid research. So, for example, I think that this innovation based on the research result in the natural science and machine are more likely to be successful if their implementation is carried out in collaboration with humanity. Meaning that we can collaboration, we can work together between the STEM subjects and also so that is all from me. Thank you.
I would like to thank the speakers for all their speeches. Now, let's give the government and opposition sides 5 minutes to prepare for the reply speech. Please be aware that the reply speech will be for 4 minutes and no POI is allowed. One more minute for the reply speech preparation. Let us welcome the representative from the opposition side for the reply speech.
Alright. So for my perspective for the opposition suite, okay, a chorus of policy experts, okay, policy expert and economically minded columnists have allocated a value and college in preparing for young people for job. They argue that college students should spend their time in classes that further to their future career, and that college should offer curriculum directed towards position and cooperate America can offer graduates. One of the prominent arguments in the discussion is that students should train in science, technology, engineering, and math, also known as STEMs fields, right? So they are rather than they vote this up, pursue they are less pragmatic and develop of skill portrayed in less demand. This moral laden political argument for humanship presents itself as hard-headed and materialistic. The realities of the job markets that it wants for one presumption liberal arts. Alright, so the next I want to add is about STEM education cons. Sorry, the biggest issue pledging STEM education at large lacks of uniform guidelines for sorry for what students should learn, or what qualifications teachers require for hiring. Every program, every STEM schools is different. While they are providing a foundational base, there are no consistency regarding emphasis places on specific subject or skill. The risk is the parents enroll their student into STEM high STEM's high school in hope them getting into the dream school, and they find out they weren't prepared enough. So there is a lack something is in this education. Furthermore, there are no STEM's specific teaching qualification in place. They fear that some teachers are not qualified to. Right. So lastly, I want to add is about elitism. STEM programs are often pegged as being elitist toward kids. STEM program cater better to students who are naturally motivated and prepared to success. Students who do not fit in those criteria are often left behind. As a result, STEM's program often won't cater to lower achieving students, even though those are same kid as the successful as their counterparts with their additional help. So that is all from me. Thank you.
Thank you for the speech. Now let us welcome the last speaker for today's debate to give the reply speech for the government side.
All right, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to wrap up our debate and introduce the clashes that went on during this debate. But however, due to limited time, I would like to elaborate deeply on this one main clash rather than certain clashes. The main and most important clash in this debate today is the question of developing nations. They should they heavily incentivize engineering, incentivize STEM subjects in tertiary education, even at the expense of a decline in humanity courses. Um, the biggest um the biggest fail we see in the opposition side is that the opposition whip didn't do his job by supporting the arguments brought up by his team and brought up more information that does not really support the claims and arguments brought up by his team. He did agree, though, that humanitarian subjects cannot stand on their own and needs them, as he suggested, as a collaboration. In contrast, with the government side, we gave a clear image on why all these STEM subjects are fundamental in supporting the development of developing nations, such as stating that it will help um, bridge the gap between the gender gap in STEM education, and due to the fact that it is the current labor demand as stated by our Prime Minister. When students take up STEM subjects, mm, students are able to develop new things and create more, and students are able to create more things, and as stated by our Prime Minister. And she also stated that the development of other first world countries such as Japan, USA are all based on the achievements they have done in STEM. Um, Whereas I proposed as a rebuttal to what the LO just said, we are not um, refusing to refusing to uh, refusing humanitarian subjects, but we are proposing to create them as not as high importance. Um, we have also provided the alternative where there are other methods besides tertiary education to learn humanitarian subjects, pro- such as apps and other things. Therefore, the due to our support in our arguments, the government stands by the motion and takes the debate home. Thank you.
Thank you for the reply speech. With that, the debate for this round has ended. Please be informed that this is a silent round, thus no result will be announced now. The adjudicators may move to your respective room. Participants, you may move to the main room for further instruction. Thank you to everyone for joining the session.
Thank you. Congrats,
Thank you,
everybody. Bye
everyone.
bye.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.